Good evening, everybody. My name is Gomati, and I am your host for today from Ability. This session is brought to you by Ability in collaboration with Madhuban. I am so happy to have all of you here today, and we hope that you're all doing really, really well. With that, I would now like to take you through some of the house rules for today's session. Today's session is a 1.5 hour session that is organized especially for you, dear participants. So please ensure that you participate actively by typing in your comments and questions in the chat box like you all are already doing. Please ensure that you ask your comments in the chat box and ask your questions as well. The expert will be answering your question towards the mid of the section and in the end of the session in the question and answer segment. Please make sure that you participate in all the activities that are planned for today's session, dear participants. And please ensure that you attend the entire session because it contributes to your CBSE and NEP CPD requirements. You shall receive all the resources that are shared for today's session and your certificate via email in the next 2 or 3 working days. With that, I would now like to take you through today's topic and our expert speaker. Like you all already know, today's topic is identify and manage academic challenges in your classroom. Today, Ms. Shivani will be our expert speaker. Ms. Shivani Wadhwa has over 10 years of rich experience helping children with challenges. She aims to empower individuals to reach their potential emotionally and academically. Her training and coaching practices aim to guide parents and teachers to maximize the potential of children with academic, behavioral, and learning challenges in inclusive schools. Ms. Shivani is also the founder of Samarthya, Nurture a Better You. Before I hand you all over to our expert, Ms. Shivani, I would like to take you all through a quick little energizer to get ready for today's session. In order to do this, please participate in the link that is shared with you on chat. Kindly open the link to participate in the energizer for today, dear participants. Once you open the link, you can type in the answer to the question asked on the chat box. The question is, describe your students in 2 words. I see that a lot of you have already started typing in your answers. We're really excited to see what you think of your students, how you like to describe your students. Lovely. I see a lot of you have energetic, open-minded, intelligent students in your classroom. It's wonderful to see how all of you have curious learners. You look at your students as very creative. That's wonderful that you have creative, open-minded students in your classroom. You have energetic students. Of course, there are lots of students who have a lot of energy that we are constantly working to sort of use and utilize in our classroom. You have creative, intelligent students. That's wonderful, the way you have positive attitudes towards your students, your participants. With that, I will now be going to hand you all over to our expert speaker, Ms. Shivani, to begin the session. It's wonderful to see all of your enthusiasm, dear participants. Happy learning to all of you.
Thank you so much, Gomati. A very good evening to you all, dear participants. It's lovely to see the energy that all of you are carrying. Today's session is about how you can identify and manage academic challenges in your classroom. Today, we'll understand the various challenges that students are facing in your classroom. How can you group them by the level of support they require? And we'll discuss some interventions that you can take back home to implement in your classrooms. So, for students with challenges in your classroom, when you're teaching them or teaching any child, what do you think is going on in their minds? Can you come up with responses in the chat box? What do you think is going on in their minds when you are teaching as a teacher? Some might think that, oh, I want to learn more about it. Curious. Yes, some might be thinking about their marks. Some might be feeling bored. Some might not even be aware of what we are talking. Inquisitive, exciting, bored, wondering, gaining knowledge. Excellent. What will happen next? Wanting the hobby class to come. They might be testing us. They might be distracted. Wonderful. So you would see that there are some children who are finding it difficult to pay attention. They would think, why is this so hard? Some may feel like they'll be hiding under the table. I don't want to answer to this teacher. And some may be daydreaming, thinking, I am bored. When will the class get over? Right? We come across all these kind of children. And do you agree that students have different learning needs? The way they learn, what they want to learn, is it different for all? Yes, definitely. Yes, it is different. So when we go and ask our students, would they know what their needs are? So, when we think about this, think about a student in your class like Mehak. Mehak is a child who makes mistakes while reading. She struggles with spelling. Now, as a teacher, if you go and ask Mehak, why are you not able to do it? Would Mehak know? I'm asking Mehak, you're making spelling mistakes. Why are you doing that? We think Mehak or any student of our class having challenge would know? No. It's like we go to a doctor and the doctor asks us, why are you unwell? We do not have an answer, right? So teachers are similar to doctors. We are here to identify the specific challenges that children have. And in that journey of identification, we address the challenge to the deepest level and as early as possible, because early identification will reduce the burden on the child. It will reduce the burden on the subsequent teachers as well as on the parents. If it's not addressed, it gets more and more difficult for the child to cope. So as teachers, we have a lot of resources, a pool of knowledge through which we can identify and get into early intervention. so, as teachers, you have a chance to make a difference in the lives of your students. You are there to inspire them, to get them to dream big and achieve their goal. Do you agree with me that there are times parents come and tell you, ma'am, only when you tell my child does, or because of you, my child has started to learn math? Hindi was so difficult. He's now showing interest. Yes, you are there making a difference every day. That opportunity lies in your hands, dear teachers. So, when we want to help them better, when we want to bring about a change, the first step is to understand the student challenges. So, when we talk about understanding the student challenges, let us go into a little detail to know what are the various academic challenges that children face. You agree? Children in a classroom would be facing reading, writing, arithmetic challenges. When it comes to or related to academics, reading can be a problem, writing and arithmetic. So let us understand how do these challenges look like in the classroom. Can you share your responses as to how do reading challenges look like in classrooms? In the chat box, if you go in your class, you're seeing the child is struggling with reading. What is the specific reading challenge? Unable to read well, not able to read fluently, fumbles, not able to pronounce, not able to blend words. They read the letters, not the word as a whole. Child may look lost, right? The child is not able to identify words. Letter sound identification is not there. Yes, the child is not confident. They struggle to understand what they are reading, right? They're not able to find word meanings. Sounds are not clear. They do not know what letter, and interest is also not there. So this is not an exhaustive list, but the important components. I'm glad all of you are aware of how does reading challenge look like. Now, how do writing challenges look like in the classroom? So if you get into a class and you're like, oh, this child has a writing challenge, how do these writing challenges look like? Spelling mistake, okay. Shabby handwriting, spelling errors, not able to write fast. Yes, can't write with cursive. Framing of sentences is not accurate. Poor grip, mirror imaging. Yes, they're not able to put their thoughts on paper. Illegible writing. They would be hesitant, grammatical mistakes, alignment is not proper, spelling errors. Yes, absolutely wonderful responses that all of you are giving. They lack variety in sentence. They're not able to use appropriate words. Writing would be slow. So again, these are components of writing challenges, not a complete list, but to give you an idea. Moving on to arithmetic challenges. How do these arithmetic challenges look like in the classrooms? Math related, right? How would they look like? Problem in counting, absolutely. They would avoid writing his previous one. Okay, unable to solve sums, calculation mistake, number reversal, 6 as 9, 9 as 6, number 4, yeah, multiplication table, calculation errors, doing word problems, fear, fumbles with numbers, directionality, yes, basic math operations, they're not able to do. Difficulty with time, comprehending word problems, and their performance would be consistently poor in math. So these are overall challenges that children would be facing. So while you are looking at these challenges, dear teachers, in our classroom, children can face one of these challenges or they could face multiple challenges. So we need to identify that. And let me give you an insight into the current situation. From our survey of speaking to over 2,000 teachers, we have found that 40 to 50% of students in the classroom face one or multiple challenges. And if you look at the ACER report, that is the private school data from the annual status of education report, you see the statement, this is a long road. Only 47% of class 5 students can read this. Isn't it alarming? And doing a simple subtraction of two digits, 41 minus 13, only 57% of students in class 3 were struggling. So when you look at this data, we see simple sentence reading is a problem. Doing simple division, your teachers, when you look at your classroom, you would see, right, even simple basic concepts, children are struggling. So 57% is a huge number. It is alarming when we look at it. It's important to go to the reasons, get into the identification of why. Sometimes it could be because of language barrier. They could be right, there's no one to support in the English language. It could be environmental challenges, no proper environment to study. They could be facing some kind of a learning challenge. Emotional factor could be there, lack of interest, or poor study habits. So there could be multiple reasons. So identify the challenge, know the why, and then get into the second step. So the second step is now to group students by the level of support they require. You might wonder what is this level of support? So this level of support, it is a well-researched approach which is based on the response to intervention framework. So this framework will help teachers and schools to properly identify children who are facing challenges, group them based on the level of support they need. So it's a great guide that you can use to design interventions as well as find out children who need support. So as per this model or this level of support approach, there are three levels of support. At the bottom level, you have level 1, where all children in your classroom fall in this category. Then at level 2, we have students who need moderate support for a short period of time. At the top level, we have students who need intense support for a long period of time. Let me tell you this in detail. So for children who are at 11 level 1, they are the ones who require mild support. So the strategies that all of you are applying are applicable within the classroom setting. It is for all the children you're doing, whether they have a challenge or not. On the other hand, we have students at risk at level 2, those who require moderate support for a short period of time. So here you figure out children who need targeted support. So intervention is designed to give them additional assistance. So when you think about these students at risk, you might wonder, how as a teacher will I identify, right? So you can increase your observations with them. You can increase the frequency of assessments. Keep a track of how their progress is, their daily behavior in class, their performance in tests, their performance in exams. That will give you an insight whether the child needs additional assistance or not. After that, in level 3, we have children who require intense support for a long period of time. So you as a teacher will be giving individualized care and support, right? Here, these children who are in the top level require highest level of assistance. So that way, you will group these children and then accordingly provide the right kind of intervention. So when you have to identify children with intense support, they are the ones where you have tried everything as a teacher. They're not responding to interventions that you have come up with. That's one way. Second, there are some teacher checklists, informal assessments, or a professional's formal assessment that can lead to a diagnosis, if need be, that why a child is not able to perform. So students who are at the intense support does not mean that they're not capable. It just means that the way they learn is different from the rest. So we adopt those strategies that can cater to their needs and learning. So this is about the level of support. Now, to understand this better, let me take you through a case study. I request all of you to carefully listen to this and then we would discuss.
In a grade 4 classroom, Madam Radhika the teacher is explaining the various aspects of creative writing and guiding all students to write on the topic. If I had a superpower, I would. Let's find out how Arjun is coping with his writing. Arjun is very distracted and he keeps looking around. When he finally gets started, he could not think of a good story. He has difficulties finding the words to express his ideas.
I want to finish this composition by today, but I cannot spell some of the words. Hope I can get some help from Madam Radhika.
Some of his sentences come with grammatical errors as his language foundation is weak. Let's learn more about Vikram. Vikram is able to get his ideas flowing and hence he is able to start writing immediately. His sentences are quite well written with proper punctuation, sentence structure, and vocabulary used. If he can read more books, he would be able to write much better.
Madam Radhika, what do you think about my story? I'm not able to make it very interesting. Would you be able to help me improve on my ideas?
Vikram is always asking his teacher for feedback on his studies. It shows that he has a high willingness to learn and improve. We shall now learn more about Kushi. Kushi does not know how to get started, so she started to draw instead. Madam Radhika knows that Kushi struggles with writing and so, she keeps going to Kushi to provide guidance on how she can write her sentences.
Madam Radhika, after writing this sentence, what do I write next?
However, when Madam Radhika walks away to help other students, Kushi will immediately stop her writing and starts drawing as she has no idea what to write. Let's find out the level of support each of the students needs and the strategies that we can adopt to help them.
Now, that we have learned and heard about these case profiles, can you tell me? We'll go through them and then discuss further instead. So when we look about case profile of Arjun, Arjun gets distracted, often looks around. He struggles with organizing his thoughts. He finds it challenging to express ideas and has poor spelling abilities. His sentences has grammatical errors and lacks a strong language foundation. Then when we talk about the other child, Vikram, Vikram is able to get ideas flowing and he can start writing immediately. Sentences are quite well drafted. He shows the willingness to learn and improve. But he also requires some support with creative thoughts and presenting skills. Now coming to Khushi, she has difficulty following instructions. She requires constant guidance from the teacher and cannot start the task without support. Having learned these case profiles, can you tell me which level of support will Arjun fall into? Where will Arjun fall into? Which level of support? Arjun gets distracted. He looks around, poor spelling abilities. I see level 2, yes. What about others? 2, moderate level, yes, moderate level of support, level 2. Great. What about Khushi? Where do you think Khushi will fall into? Which level of support? Khushi will fall into the third level of support, 3, intense, because her challenges are more severe than Arjun. Great. What about Vikram? Where do we see Vikram? Where can Vikram be placed? Which level? Vikram is at, okay, first level, universal level. Okay, first. So we all have seen that each of these children are placed at different levels of support. They require different assistance from the teacher. Vikram is at universal level, level 1. Arjun is a child who requires moderate support for a short period of time. Khushi requires intense support for a long period of time based on the challenges that she has been exhibiting. One thing to note is very important that this grouping is dynamic. It is not permanent. Students can go in and out of these groups. What it means is that if Arjun is identified by you at the right time and right help is provided, he can come to the universal level. But if support is not provided at the right time, his challenges will keep on increasing year after year. He would also be moved to the intense level of support. That is why early intervention is also important. Early identification and intervention go hand in hand. So this grouping is not permanent. So it's important that we take a moment to reflect students in our classes who might have these challenges and group them according to this framework. Why should you do this? Would be a question that you might be thinking. It will help you to know the size of the problem in your class. You'll be like, okay, I have 5 students at the intense level. I have 15 at moderate and 10 at universal. This way you will understand your students better and then you can make your teaching also effective. So now we'll do an activity. This activity will help us know amongst us what kind of data are we having of children. So a link will be posted in the chat box. It will take you to this form. I request you to please fill in the details in this form. Once you key in the details, it will help us to see in our classes, majority children are facing what kind of challenges. I hope all of you have clicked the link in the chat box. Please go out and fill in your email address, your roles in the school, your class and section, total number of children in your class. What are the challenges that you as a teacher are facing? They might have lack of time, or it could be lack of parental support, or too much portion to complete. Then I want you to take a moment to think and reflect. If you are a class teacher, please choose that class. If you are a subject teacher, choose any one class on which you want to reflect upon and see the diversity in children. See what kind of challenges they are having. So in reading challenges, you have to write number of children whom you think will be at the moderate level, whom you think will be at the intense level. Then at writing challenges, moderate and intense. Arithmetic challenges, how many children in a classroom are at moderate and intense level. You are seeing on the form attention and behavior because these challenges also impact academics and it's also true vice versa. So to understand children better, getting a holistic view of all the challenges in the classroom at each of the level of support is crucial. So I request you to please click on the link in the chat box, fill in the details and click on the button submit. And then we'll see the data amongst us. What kind of children are there? Are children with challenges increasing? I see a lot of responses flowing in. We'll wait for a while. I see reading is at intense. Okay, at moderate, at now we have arithmetic. Okay, it's changing. Let us see how many of you have answered. I request all of you to please click on the link in the chat box. The link has been posted. Please go on the link, click on the link. It will take you to a form. Key in your details and put in the number of children who are facing challenges. So far, I've seen a few. If you do it, I request the others also to please do it. Now we are seeing arithmetic is at the intense level and reading has moved to the moderate level amongst us. Yeah, we are seeing the data of so many children. I see a lot of you still answering. After arithmetic, it's behavioral challenges, attention, and then reading. Okay, at moderate also, it's changing. A lot of these challenges are present. Great. It's good to see the data because we understand the size of the problem is there. And it's important we take a step towards bringing about a change in their outcomes. Yeah, so we'll move on. I request you all to please do the form. You can save the link and do it later. Now, what did we start off with? The first step was identification. After identification, we moved on to grouping. We grouped them by the level of support, right? After that, after the reflection activity, the next step that you as teachers can adopt, that's the final step, is to understand what kind of intervention, what kind of management strategy can you use to support your students. So at each level of support, your focus point is different. So if you want to support students who receive universal instructions, all children in your classroom, your focus is on prevention, right? We as teachers do not want children to have challenges. We always strive to improve their outcomes. So our focus is on prevention. For students who need moderate support for a short period of time, the focus is on remediation. We try to ensure to remediate them so that it does not become an intense level of challenge. Then, for students who need intense support, our focus is on collaboration. We need team effort. We cannot do it alone. So, we'll get into understanding these into a little more detail, where this is a snapshot of all the strategies that we will be covering. And after the mild level, we'll take a few questions and then move ahead. So, to start off with, one important thing to note, we have teachers across all grades here, right? So if you question yourself and ask, are the strategies that are going to be discussed applicable and adaptable to my class? I may be teaching grade 3, I may be teaching grade 7, or higher or lower. It's important to note that the strategies are applicable across all grades. But to apply, you need to make some modifications because each child is unique. So identify the reason, select which strategy you want to do, implement and adjust the strategy as per the need of the child. Okay? To begin with, we'll start with interventions at the universal level. So these are students who are in your classroom, whether they have a challenge or not. So you're providing support within the classroom setting. So the first thing is universal design for learning. Have you heard of this term UDL? So when we talk of UDL or the Universal Design for Learning, it works well where you can use this while you're designing your lesson plans. So this UDL has a set of principles where it says that each child has an opportunity to learn. So whatever we do, we must present information in such a manner that each child is able to grasp it. They share the goal with the NEP where they foster inclusive education. So all the creation of your teaching learning materials, your resources, your assessments are designed in such a manner, if following UDL, that each child will be included, right? So it is to give equal opportunities for all students in our classroom to learn. And when we think about UDL principles, there are 3 principles. It works on the why of learning. the what of learning and the how of learning. So when I tell about the why of learning is, as per UDL, if you want to keep students engaged, you should provide different opportunities, different options, not just the regular teaching method of the blackboard. So it's important we engage them in different ways so that their interest is sustained for learning. The what of learning is you focus on the concept in the way of representing. That is, as a teacher, I would represent information in various ways. Some may learn through visual, some may learn through my lecture method, some may learn by hands-on activities. So I will ensure that the access of the material is there in different representative forms. That is the what of learning. Then the how of learning is when I want to see how much the child has grasped, right? How will the child demonstrate their learning? What kind of methods can I use? I, as a teacher, would offer options to them so that they can demonstrate how much they have learned. So, getting into the understanding of it, let me take you through it with an example. So, imagine we have Miss Radhika. She's preparing a lesson for grade 4 on a science topic about water cycle. She wants to ensure that all her students can understand and participate in the lesson, regardless of their learning style, their abilities, or needs. And if she has to use UDL now, dear teachers, you have been telling me you know. Can you tell me what can be the multiple means of engagement? How can she bring about engagement in her students? Be whatever topic. For example, here she's teaching water cycle. What could she do? What could be the different ways of bringing in engagement from students? Show a video by activity, by experiment, yes, by drawing, yes, field trips, excellent. Making them draw, visit to a different water source, yes, mind maps, wonderful. I see lovely responses coming in. So, to multiple means of engagement become the teacher could engage in storytelling, different narratives, experiments, hands-on activities, visual aids and diagrams, mind maps, right? And then field trip could also be there where kinesthetic learners can understand practically. That is the why of learning. Moving on to the what, right? This is how can she represent information? Yes, video is a way of representing information. Mind map is a way. You have educational videos that explain the different systems. Then there are a lot of reading materials that you can give. Models can be created. There are different means of representation. And when it comes to understanding the learning, how can we understand the how of learning in UDL? If I want to understand whether my child has grasped the concept or not, what is it that I can implement or what is it that I can do? I can do a quiz. Very good. I can ask oral questions. I can give group projects. I can conduct assessments. I can do a hands-on experiment with them. Ask them to compare and contrast different processes, debate, wonderful worksheet, can give MCQs, ask them to explain excellence. So this is how UDL is designed, where every child will have an equal opportunity to learn in the way they can. So you can use UDL for children who are at the universal level. The next thing that works is revision classes. All of us know revision classes, right? Exams are approaching. Every teacher talks about revision classes. What are these classes? These are classes where we focus on reteaching difficult topics. We teach it to the whole class or some students who are facing difficulty. You could do that where you want students to vote for a topic which has been difficult. You can use quizzes, dictionaries, debates so that you can revise in different ways to make them thorough with a concept. So what happens in revision classes is that our aim is to revisit a topic, ensure that they are learning it. You want to strengthen that topic by practicing it and recapitalizing it for better understanding. And if a child does not understand in one way, we teach in the way the child learns. So these are characteristics of revision classes. Next thing you could do is peer-to-peer support. We know it, right? It's important. Children learn through modeling. They learn through their peers, specifically in growing age. So encourage peer learning and teaching among students. You can use the reciprocity ring or the buddy system to provide that support. Let me explain this interesting technique to you. So when I talk about reciprocity ring, what is this? You might wonder. So in reciprocity ring, I have a corner in the classroom where I create a space for them. I put a big chart paper. I encourage students to share their challenges, share their queries, write their worries, and post it. So the peers in the class could come there each morning. If they know an answer or want to support that child, they would write their name or suggest solutions. They would provide encouragement or advice to them. And then, as a teacher, I would regularly visit the wall. I would update the progress, appreciate each other for helping and supporting each other, and provide the support where the peers are not able to. So this improves teamwork in the class. It improves peer-to-peer learning. So you could use this and see it is applicable across age groups. A tip here I could give, you could also be like, we give homework, right, to older children in higher classes. They can come and write in math textbook, exercise number 7.8, question number 12. I did not get it. Ayush. Someone sees in the morning, helps and explains. This way, you can bring about bonding in the classroom. Nobody feels left out that, oh, I don't know, where should I go and ask? So, this is an idea you can start to implement to see how children can learn through this. The next technique is buddy system. I'm sure you might be doing it where you're pairing up students. But remember, when you pair up, you match students with complementary learning styles and strengths. They are going to share the responsibility of the other. So, as teachers, if we are pairing up, we need to be very sure that we are regularly checking in. So, if I have paired up Rahul with Riya is going to support Rahul. It shouldn't be that Riya's performance is going down. I need to review the progress constantly, effectively, to see that challenges do not occur. So, I am going to match students in such a manner that they complement each other. I'm going to provide feedback also as a teacher to the peer buddy, how they could improve, and to the person who's receiving the help as well. So this way, enhanced learning outcomes can come rather than just making them sit together. Okay, so this is one way. The other way is parent engagement, right? As teachers, when we talk about parent engagement, what happens? We're like, okay, sometimes we struggle connecting with parents, but they are the most important resource. We must not forget. It's important that we have interactions with them, not just when a challenge arises, but throughout. It is not that I'm going to wait when the child shows poor performance, I'm going to talk to the parent. It is throughout. So, as important it is to build rapport with children, it is important to build that rapport with parents also. So, ensure you get prompt and active involvement of them, and you can take their support whenever you need. So you can do it in PTM, or you can call them one-on-one, connect with them in their native language, tell them the importance, or find out multiple ways in which you can connect with them if not via phone call. So it's good that we do it in the beginning of every year so that they are comfortable with you and are going to be there so that they can support you to improve outcomes of children. So what is going to happen in parent engagement is that you can support parents to have a supportive home environment. You can collaborate with them for student success. You can give strategies. You can guide parents on the needs of the student. You're going to discuss ways in which they can collaborate better, have a shared understanding of the responsibility, and also involve parents in decision-making process. So let us see that with the example. So we have Suresh. He's a child who has been struggling to complete his homework assignments on time and achieve marks for his math tests. Now, what would you do if you want to use parent engagement? Think, what will we do? The teacher would definitely call the parent. The teacher would want to connect with the parent, plan a course of action. So what will we do? We'll work through with the parent to create a structured and supportive home environment where a routine is fixed. We'll tell them to have a designated study area, discuss what the problem is. Homework routine has to be there. Say that the child has to come and show me, and I, as a teacher, will also write a note, right? Thank you for looking into it. So it's two-way. It's not that the parent does and we don't check. So it is a two-way appreciation where we are there complimenting the parent and the parent also compliments. So you can also implement a reward system at home and school so that the child remains motivated. We'll inform parent to have a discussion. Yeah, great. Lovely ideas in the chat box. After that, you can create awareness programs for students and parents. What is it that's going to happen here is these programs are on general topics of everyday life, which are going to affect the child in a way that they improve academic outcomes. So psychoeducation can be done, an awareness program where we talk about topics of study skills, stress, right, resilience, having healthy habits, routines. So this can be done in school assemblies. You can organize. Then you can say that who's able to follow a token economy could be used where the appreciation is there that, okay, this child from this grade did it. Or during PTMs, you can hold sessions for parents. So focus areas are there where you can talk about time management for students, study skills and learning strategies, goal setting for them, test taking strategies, effective communication and collaboration. And when it comes to parents, you can create awareness programs on supporting homework habits, effective communication with teachers, how can they have a growth mindset, how can they nurture foundational literacy and numeracy skills in their children, right? We can give them simple tasks like take your child to a supermarket, ask them to total it, or give them a list and see are they able to bring it. These life skills also need to be developed. Awareness programs on balancing screen time and academic demands can also be there. So it's very important you can organize this so that there is more awareness and you will see improvements and your focus is already on prevention, right? That's the focus point for the level 1 strategies. So now, before we move on to the other levels, if you have any queries, we'll take one or two and then move on to other exciting strategies that await you all.
Absolutely. Ms. Shivani, we've already had a lot of questions from our participants. They've already been buzzing our chat boxes here. So we are going to quickly take the first question for now. We spoke a lot right now about involving parents to collaborate with them and to support parents. However, a lot of the teachers have shared that even though they want to support the parents and share structures with them, there are a lot of the times that parents don't acknowledge that their children have challenges. How can teachers support in such situations?
A very good question. So when children are facing challenges, most of the times the parents are in denial mode, right? You go and tell them your child has a challenge. They're like, no, ma'am, at home my child does very well. Only in exam I don't know what happens. Right? We get these statements. So the most important thing is, I would say, a statement here. Connection before correction applies to children, applies to parents, applies to colleagues. So if you really want to bring about a change in parents, their mindset, most important thing is know more about them. Know how educated they are. Know about their status. Are they able to give time to the child? Are both working? It's very important to know the factors that are influencing their engagement. Once you know that, some parents are very shy, they don't even know English, or some parents don't know how to talk to the teacher, or they have a mindset that whenever I go, I'm only going to get complaints. Why should I go? So this is important to note, the reason. After that, always start off on a positive note with every child. So parents will get connected with you. Every child has strengths and weaknesses, even we as individuals. So pick up a strength, write a note that I see this, I appreciate the child doing homework. It could be as simple as that. Even if you know it is copied, but the child made an effort to do it and submit, right? Write that to the parent, build that trust, and then call them and say, most important thing for both of us is the success of your child. If we should do that, I want you to work in collaboration with me. Before you even give strategies, get the parent to accept that yes, there is a challenge. Don't go on bombarding that, do this, do that, do this worksheet. They won't. Get them on the same page. Or sometimes you can also ask the parent, ma'am, can you give me a strategy what is working at home? It's not always that the child is not doing it here and doing it at home. We think it's not true. Sometimes it could be true. So ask the parent, ma'am, can you tell me what is working for your child? Sometimes we want to get that reading is not there in the child. I call the parent, I call the child. We're like, ma'am, you ask the child to read. I want to learn from you. No harm. If it works, great. It's worked for you as a teacher. Then you can ask the parent, see if the child is struggling. We want to help. You tell us what we could do. Once they accept that, yes, a challenge is there, that's when the next step comes. So build that connect. It's very, very important.
Wonderfully said, ma'am. We need to understand the background of the parent first, build connection with the parent, and always approach in a positive way by identifying positive structures that the student is following. Anything that the student is achieving or excelling in is something that you can start by when you're approaching the parents with, and you can build that space of trust. Absolutely. With that, we go to the next question. This question is about the students in the class. A lot of the times, even though teachers work to make individualized plan for students, to create structures that might help the students in the classroom, a lot of the times they see that the students may not follow it consistently. They see a lot of rebellion from the students. They see students may not be willing to follow through with the structures that the teachers have told them. In that case, how can the teachers support to ensure that the students are able to cope with their academics?
It's a good question. It's important we know the age. But again, if you're getting the rebellious attitude of the child, you're trying to give routines. First and foremost is again, don't you see that some children, I'm a subject teacher of English, someone is a subject teacher of science. The science teacher says, hey, that child does all my work and homework. How does he not do it in your class? It's nothing to do with you. It's the rapport and connection where the child has felt comfortable with that teacher. Sometimes math teacher, they're so scared. With the language teacher, they're so comfortable, they do everything. So build that connection is what I would definitely say. After that, you can involve parents. As we've seen, you can involve a system of rewards for these children. It's not necessarily that it has to be tangible, but somewhere a positive note goes for them. It's extremely important where they feel valued as well. So if a child is doing it to bring about that pattern and consistency, their work should also be highlighted. I'm doing it. Is my teacher noticing it? If they do it twice, you want it to continue? Very good. Tell the parent. You have a chart. How much are you helping? So every month, you can meet with the parent and see how much is your child troubling, how much is the child not. Then an appreciative note goes. Even in schools, they do, best class of the year. We have children who are doing maximum homework, not even one note's incomplete. So these awards are motivating for every child across classes.
Absolutely. So, like you shared, building trust in the child, building rapport with the child becomes key in this situation. And then working from there to be able to identify what the child needs and explaining to the child in a safe and comfortable way of why your structures are being put in place, as well as collaborating with the parents who are absolutely the most important stakeholders as Lovely. With that, we will now be continuing with the session. However, we do recognize that you have a lot more questions here with us, and we will be addressing them towards the end of the session.
We are back with the strategies part. We've discussed about what is there for the universal level. We'll discuss about interventions for at-risk and moderate level. So these are children who require additional assistance beyond the classroom level strategies. So for these students, it's important that we engage in remedial classes. Remember, we spoke of revision. Now it is remedial. Remedial is different from revision. It is not reteaching. There is a difference. What we do in remedial classes is we focus on the foundational skill building. You tell, right? Sometimes some children do not know even basics, right? While we were doing the statistics and data, we saw that so many percentage of children were not able to do simple subtraction. That means their foundation skill is lacking. So if that is not strong, how will they progress to higher grades? So we need to make that building strong. So when academic challenge is there and children are in moderate and intense level, remedial classes working on foundational skills building is extremely important. So your focus in remediation is to focus on skill building. Here what we do is we group children based on their skill level and not by class or grade. So there may be a child in grade 2 not knowing subtraction. There may be a child in grade 4 not knowing subtraction and a child in grade 7 not knowing subtraction. We will club them and provide the remedial class, which is not that grade 2 together, grade 4 together, grade 7. We are teaching concept. So wherever there is lack of concept, those children come together. A small group of students are taught that way. It can be done in your schools every day, alternate day, depending on the resources that are available. Primary teachers can also support because that's the concept they have been teaching through the years. One thing to note is please do not lose patience. It's very important to know that it takes time. It is a slow process. Improvement will come gradually with patience. So we need to have that patience so that we can keep the student and the parent both motivated. Now, when you ask about the characteristics of remedial classes, what will these remedial classes do? They'll help you to identify the areas of weakness. It will help you to build on lack of concepts in the child, the gaps the child is having. That is, it will focus on foundational skill building. In remedial classes, you're personalizing your attention for the child and you begin from basic concepts and go to advanced concepts. It is not that if a child is in grade 4, child does not know tables, I'm teaching division. Doesn't work that way. Here we are focusing on the basic concepts. How does it work is, imagine Krishna is a 5th grade student. He's struggling with spellings and consistently low marks in his tests. If I have to apply remedial classes, what will I do? I will use this 4-step process where I'm going to identify. What will I identify? Identify the specific challenge. I'll know the current level of performance. After that, I will plan. I will plan how I will talk to parents, I'll talk to my colleagues, the other professionals to see if the strategy will work or not and then implement. So if spelling is a problem, I will ensure that I start with phonetic rules and then move on to spelling rules and constantly make the child practice and reinforce so that the child doesn't forget. And I will use multisensory learning techniques so that the child learns faster. Visual aids, auditory aids, hands-on activities, so that in each way, whatever the learning style is, the child would grasp it. And then I would review. Review to see if there is progress or not. So I will provide and take feedback from parents and other internal professionals. Internal professionals are the other colleagues. So when I want to implement remedial classes, remember teachers, you will identify, plan, implement, and don't forget to review. So the next technique that you can use is providing scaffolding support. So what happens in providing scaffolding support is that I'm going to identify the challenge. After that, I'm going to provide step-by-step support. I'm going to scaffold. That is, I'm going to provide support in small stages so that the child is able to develop the skills and understanding of a concept. So what I will do as a teacher, if it's a complex task, I'm going to break it down into smaller steps. So I will give different worksheets, different assistants, different prompts, cues, so that the child can start to work independently. So I'm going to only provide temporary support and guidance in the way I give my instructions. That is how it will be different from the way I give instructions to others. So how does this look like is, I am going to, when I talk about characteristics of scaffolding, I'm going to assess what is the area of struggle. I'll know the gap. Then I will try filling the gap with support strategies. Once the child is picking up, I will start reducing support so that the child learns to become independent. That's your actual goal. It's not that I'm going to continuously be providing support. So that is important. So let us see that with the help of a case study. Mukesh is a 7th grade student. He's struggling with his writing skills. He's unable to write grade level sentences correctly. Now, if you have to provide the scaffolding support, what will I do? I will first understand how is he doing now? What are the current writing skills? How is his vocabulary? How is his sentence structure? How is his grammar skill? How are his ideations? Then I will identify the gaps. I see that vocabulary is okay. He's able to ideate. Grammar is still okay, but sentence structure is not coming. That is why grammar is getting affected. Or it could be vice versa. So I realized, for example, that Mukesh is not able to come up with a proper sentence structure. So what will I do? I will pick up strategies that can support Mukesh to build that skill. I can provide sentence starters. I can give guided practice sessions. I can give prompts, graphic organizers. What else? There are different worksheets that you could see on the screen. So these are various support systems that you will use so that Mukesh can build that skill. So gradually you will shift his responsibility on him to be more independent to try. Got it? So this is how scaffolding will be there. Let us understand scaffolding in math. Mehak is a 4th grade student. She's struggling with word problems. She has good grasp of mathematical concepts. How will I scaffold? You've seen one example. Can you now tell me in the chat box? How will you scaffold? Scaffold is you provide step-by-step intervention. But first you start with knowing the current problem. A current problem, what is there? We see that what is happening. She's not able to do what problems. She's not able to break down the steps that are involved in solving the problem. Identifying the problem is where she is lacking. She knows her basics. What problem solving is the challenge? Then she has to identify what it is as a teacher. Once you do, you're going to provide Mehak with simple strategies. You're going to use visual representations, you'll use mnemonics so that she knows what she has to do. For example, the cube strategy. You'll teach her to circle the numbers. You'll teach her to underline the question, that is what, how. Box the keyword like left, how many in total, added. These are some keywords, right, which will tell what kind of operation we have to use in the word problem. So we tell box that, we strike off the extra information, evaluate what steps do I take, and solve and check. So these are some scaffolding techniques that I will provide. Once she understands it, she's able to do it. Yes, we can give her real life examples, real life exposure, so that she understands which operation to be used. Great. So these are all scaffolding techniques. And then you make her more independent, right? So this is one way in which you can support for academic challenges. Next thing is counseling for students and parents. Counseling for parents and students who have academic challenges or for students itself. It can be initiated by the student. The student comes and speaks to the school counselor where they say that I am struggling. I really want to understand why I study so much. I'm not able to put my thoughts on paper. Or it can be teacher initiated. The teacher gives a referral and it is done on a requirement basis. So when counseling is done, counseling will help students to have a better understanding of their problem, will help them to manage their responsibilities better. They'll be able to gain confidence in themselves. The self-esteem will improve. They'll have a proper goal setting and time management if a professional help of a counselor is provided. So for parents, if counseling is there, they will have a better understanding of the challenges of the child. After that, they will also equip themselves with strategies in which they can support their child. As parents, if they undergo counseling or you're providing it in school, it is going to build confidence in their parenting skills. They are like, yes, I can support my child when there's an academic difficulty. A parent-child bond is strengthened when there is shared involvement. So counseling is beneficial for both students and parents. The next thing that you could do is collaborate with stakeholders. Work hand in hand with parents. Work hand in hand with support systems inside and outside school. So once you work hand in hand with parents, you understand what is the routine of the child, what is the challenge, and you can progress ahead. If working with support systems inside is your co-teachers, you can gain information from them. So better and effective strategies are there. So you communicate regularly, discuss and share information, and seek regular feedback. Now, when we talk about this collaboration, these are some examples. So you as teachers can seek input and guidance from special educators, counselors in your school on strategies in which way you can provide support. You can take support from parents to know what kind of home environment are they in, what kind of routine and study habit they follow. You can work with the physical education teacher to know if they're very good in sports. That can be encouraged because that's a student's strength. You can engage with the arts and music teachers also if they're very creative to know more about them. That way you identify their strengths better. So it's a teamwork. You are not alone. So we try to collaborate with stakeholders. The next thing is to refer for assessment. After all this, if we see a student is not able to make progress, after efforts from parent, you and other stakeholders, we refer for a formal assessment. It is not for labeling, but it is to know why the child is not able to perform. We'll get an objective answer rather than us, assuming subjectively. It will be clarity for us so that we can clearly identify challenges and plan appropriate interventions. So referring for assessment to a professional helps. After that, it's important when we talk about referral, we should see that there is duration and frequency of academic difficulties. It should be consistent. It's not that one time the child has failed the exam, okay, I need the child to go for assessment. No. The intensity and severity of the difficulties should be progressive. You should also see whether it's having an impact on other learning areas or other areas like peer group, friendships, going to physical education classes to see if this academic performance is hampering anything else. To see if the interventions have been used, is there any progress or no progress at all? So consider all these parameters before you send for any kind of assessment. I see a lot of you agreeing with me. So that was for moderate support. Then it is intervention for intense support. Students who require highest level of assistance. Our focus is definitely on collaboration. So we are going to provide them accommodations and modifications. If a student has been sent for assessment and we have seen that they have an underlying challenge, the report itself will give you some accommodation and modification. So collaborate with the school management, collaborate with the counselor and special educator to see its implementation. So when I talk about this, accommodation is nothing but the support that is given to a child to learn the curriculum better. Modification is what changes are we making to the curriculum so that it matches the level of the student. So if you want to understand that better, some accommodations is we are using visual aids, we are using graphic organizers, mind maps, so that the concept is understandable by the child, right? We are using different ways. We are accommodating the child where learning can be maximized. Charts, dictionaries, calculators, these are all accommodations. Games, hands-on activities, flexible learning options are given. When it comes to modifications, we make change in the curriculum patterns itself. Sometimes oral examinations, extra time. If a child is too fidgety, we give fidget toys. If a child is not able to focus, additional support is given. If it's overwhelming for the child, we break down the task. Chunking technique is used. so that if 10 answers the child has to learn, we'll start with 3 answers, 2 and 2. So that way the child is able to learn better. The next what you could do for for intense level of children is that you can collaborate with internal stakeholders. Internal stakeholders is what the communication between school counselors, in-house special educators, in-house remedial teachers. So people in the school we coordinate with, but we are maintaining confidentiality and privacy to provide the best support to the child. After that, the next thing to do is collaborate with parents for services outside the school. What happens here to collaborate for services outside the school is sometimes if children are facing intense level of challenge, you see that they are seeking some therapy, some intervention, some support outside what school is providing. So understand that from parents. See what is being taught there. Communicate so that same things go on simultaneously without confusing the child. So taking recommendations from the professionals outside also helps. This is a way in which you can support intense level. So this is a snapshot of all the strategies that we have covered, and you've all enthusiastically participated to know how this can apply across each of these levels. Now, we have a poll activity. A poll is going to be launched. I request all of you to participate in the poll before we move ahead. Which of these interventions are you already applying in your classroom? UDL, revision, awareness program, remedial, counseling, peer-to-peer support, parent engagement, referring for assessment, scaffolding support, school and class level accommodation. What is it that you're already applying in your classroom? Please select the option that suit the best. Please choose the option that suits the best. Which of these interventions are you already applying in your classroom? Give the answer in the poll. We'll be ending it in a couple of seconds. I see some of you answering in the chat. Yes, done. Thank you so much. We're seeing the results now. Wow. All of you are applying some or the other strategies, and the other strategies are new for you. So we see most of them are doing the remedial and revision classes. Counseling is ongoing. You can start to implement school and class level accommodations, scaffolding support, peer-to-peer support. UDL approach is something that's used by a few of you. So please do start implementing it. Definitely makes curriculum accessible to all students in your classroom. Wonderful. So let's move ahead. Now, let me bring back my children whom we spoke of. Vikram, Arjun, and Khushi. Yeah, we have learned their challenges. We have grouped them by the level of support. Let's not leave them there and think of strategies that we can use to support them. So can you tell me what can we do for Vikram? Vikram needs support. Sometimes he calls the teacher and asks for better ideas. What can you do to improve that? Remedial for Vikram? UDL, yes, so that lesser doubts. Great. Scaffolding, okay. UDL, revision, yes. So that his concepts are strengthened and he doesn't ask the teacher again. Fantastic. Arjun, what will we do for Arjun? We will do, okay, lovely responses flowing in. Remedial, provide guidance, peer-to-peer support, make him practice more, motivate the child, give him extra guidance. Excellent. What will we do for Khushi? You've all covered wonderful ideas. What will we do for Khushi? Yes, we will start to take support from parents. We'll motivate her. We'll stay connected with the parents. We'll provide accommodations and modifications as per requirement. Wonderful. Yes, support, special education service, remedial class, parental engagement, support from parents, motivation. Excellent, wonderful responses that you've come up. So it's important we note the sequence. So when you go back to your classrooms, identify them, group them by the level of support, and match the intervention. That way you'll be able to better connect and accommodate the needs of the children in your classroom. So now we have another activity. Here, I want all of you to listen to this video again carefully and then we'll discuss. Ready?
Madam Neha, a dedicated math teacher, was teaching the students on algebra. She had spent hours the day before preparing engaging activities and explanations to help her students grasp the concepts. However, as she was proceeding with the lesson, she noticed that many students were struggling with even the basic math skills required for the topic.
Madam Neha, I do not understand why 2x plus 5 is equal to 13. This is so confusing for me.
Madam Neha, I can't understand why 4x equals 12. Why do we need to learn how to find the number for x? This is so difficult.
Madam Neha couldn't understand why they were struggling so much, as she had covered the material thoroughly in previous lessons.
How can you still not understand this? We have gone over it multiple times. All of you are full of nonsense, and that's why you only want to play and refuse to work hard. You can never do well in math. You can forget about passing this year's exam. You are beyond hope.
Some students started to cry. Madam Neha immediately regretted what she said. She recognized that her students needed support and guidance, not her anger or disappointment.
Sorry class, I was just too nervous about your progress and just want all of you to do better in your math.
Madam Neha tried to encourage her students to ask questions without fear of judgment, but the students no longer feel the same again.
Now that you've seen this video, what do you think are Madam Neha's comments about the students? Can you tell me in the chat box what were the comments which Madam Neha passed on her students? I understand we as teachers don't do it, but imagine this as the self-esteem of the child. What were the comments? Yes, I know it was demotivating, they were negative, but what was it? You can't pass an exam. Yes, you can never pass an exam. She demoralized. She demotivated. Full of nonsense. You can't even do that simple math. I cannot even expect you to pass. You're beyond hope. I don't even think you'll be able to do it. Yeah? Full of nonsense. Hopeless. Yes, if this was the self-esteem of the child and these comments, rude, negative, I see all of you telling me that if this was told to the child and this was a self-esteem. Now, if I open the paper and even if I want to tell sorry to it, I am sorry I used those words. Do you think that this paper can come back to the state in which it was? Can it be the same again? Can we bring back the self-esteem? The words cannot be erased, right? They were rude. You all agreed that they were harsh. So when we speak about these words, we as teachers, definitely I see all of you being the mindful lot here. So I reiterate again that dear teachers, each day you have that chance, you have that opportunity to make a difference in the life of your students. Make the most of it. Be mindful of the words you use. Be there, support them, identify the challenge if they are going through. Be a strong support system who's pioneering change in them. Inspire them so that they remember you, where you have played a wonderful part in achieving their goals, which all of you are already doing today. Thank you so much. It was lovely taking you all through the session where all of you were so amazing and participative throughout. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shivani, for this absolutely insightful session. Thank you, all dear participants, for being such wonderful and active group of participants. I hope you all learned as much as I did today. With that, I am sharing the feedback link of today's session. Please take some time to fill the feedback link in so that we get enough feedback and we can improve your future experience with us. Now, as you do that, we will move to the question and answer segment, a segment that has been extremely awaited by all of you. We have an outpouring amount of questions from all of you wonderful participants, and I'm sure Ms. Shivani is going to be excited to answer all of them for you. Having said that, we will be taking as many questions as we can in the time that we have left. So without wasting any more time, let's please go ahead with the questions. The first question, Ms. Shivani, that we have for you now is that a lot of the times a teacher in mainstream schools is teaching a class of about 30 to 40 students. In such a case, how can a teacher identify and then support students who require a little bit more structure, a little bit more attention in their classroom?
Yeah, a very good question. Dear teachers, you have 40 students in a class, 40 minutes only, sometimes to complete so much of syllabus. It does drain us, it gets difficult. There are a lot of other demands, but when we want to start off with, it's important. Like today, we did a reflective activity, right? You won't get an accurate number, but a close by. So, your observations, your increasing frequency of assessment, you connecting with the parents and co-teachers, this will give you an idea where the child is, whether the child is at mild, whether the child is at moderate or at risk level, or whether the child is at intense level. Once you do that, you can map these strategies so that some help can be provided. If it's an intense level, definitely outside support is also needed to bring about the change. And while saying that, so it's important that we start early. Early identification helps the child to manage challenges easier. So start off, it's not needed, it has to be accurate, but take the key points from today's session. We have seen the various challenges that children face, reading, writing, and arithmetic. You have given wonderful responses. The pointers that can hint toward challenges, the red flag signs, how do they look like? Consider that, move ahead, and start with the identification.
Lovely. So taking back from today's session and really applying it in your classrooms is something that the teachers can do, and they can start doing that by identifying the different levels that their students may be in terms of the support that they require, and then identifying how they can proceed from there. Wonderful. With that, we go to the next question. This question is about students who may need intense support. A lot of the times, these are students who also have poor recall skills. And even if the teacher has taught them enough, it's still, because of their poor recall skills, they may not be able to retain that information or remember it even the next day. How can teachers ensure that they retain information once they've been taught, especially students with intense needs?
Yeah, as a teacher, we definitely get concerned when it comes to children with intense need. Yes, that's a challenge for them to recall information, remember instructions, remember the material taught. So, yes, that's where the collaboration comes across. If they're taking any support from outside the school, understand it. Parents are the bridge. They will tell you what is happening back at home. Is it a tuition teacher, a special educator, or a therapist providing that help? Get insights on how they are teaching. To start off with, you have mnemonics, you can do mind maps, and chunking was an technique that you could use. We discussed in the session where you can break down, tasks into simpler ones. Like scaffolding support can also be provided. So if you want the child and you're giving homework of 9 questions, we know the child is at intense level of support, break it down. You'll have to go step by step and slowly increase the chunk of information giving to the child. So this is a technique in which you can progress with these children.
Again, it's wonderful to see that the teachers can really contextualize what they have learned in today's session to solve their own questions. In order to help students with intense needs, the teachers can take the structures that they learned today, like chunking of information, like creating mind maps and things like that, to allow the students to learn better, and also do so by giving them smaller chunks of information and gradually progressing as they see that their students are ready for it. Lovely. With that, we go to the next question. This question comes from a lot of teachers about students who may have difficulties with reading skills. A lot of the times you see that students may not have high reading skills, maybe slowly readers in class, or may not understand what they're reading. How can teachers support students in such cases?
Again, a good question. So reading is definitely one of the most important skills that we want children to develop. Like if you go to LSRW skills, reading is something on which writing also depends. The other subjects are also dependent. So again, if we want, we have to see the foundational skill. Is reading actually present? Do they know the letter sound knowledge? If not, you have to start from the basics. Starting from the basics, giving a lot of practice with real life understanding, with parent engagement, collaboration, again, you will be bringing about a change. Again, I would mention if you're doing remediation, it is going to take time when you're building on the foundational skills. It's not that today we start, tomorrow the child would know. Having the patience to work with the child from the foundation. When it comes to reading, start off with some engaging techniques, multisensory ways, expose them to a lot of picture reading books. That also helps where they're able to relate. Play games with them. You can give ideas to parents where extra additional worksheets of lower grades can be given based on their level as a practice. So these things are what can be done at the school environment so that some basic reading can be improved in the child.
Lovely. Providing for remediation or even smaller spaces where the students can read and practice their reading with easier or grade level appropriate structures is something that the teachers can do. Lovely. With that, we go to another question. This is sort of a popular question because a lot of teachers have asked us this. A lot of the teachers here are wondering how they can use all these strategies with high school students, given two challenges that they face. One is that a lot of the times high school students may not have the time to be able to use the strategies, break down the content, given that they're working towards various academic goals. The second challenge that a lot of the teachers face is also behavioral, where the students tend to not want to follow the structures or not want to follow what the teacher is saying. In such cases, how can the teachers support high school students, especially using the strategies learned today?
There are two aspects to it. One is how can you apply this in academics? Second is behavior. To start off with academics, yes, the demands get higher. It's very difficult to get them into control. That's where you can start off with parent engagement as well, or build that connection with the child that talk to them about the importance of academics. You can have awareness programs that this is the time you're psychoeducating them to have healthy study habits, build a healthy routine in learning. After that, you can give them some goals to achieve, work with parents to see that this is done. So it's like question number 1 and 2 of science, this chapter has to be done. They do it, you give a note back to them that yes, you have reviewed. So this way, there is constant collaboration and check happening. If the child is not doing, it's important to connect and find out what is it, the lack of foundational skill? Is it the disinterest? What is it? Is it too much of gadget use? Proper environment at home is not given. Somewhere spending that extra time will help you. So give personal attention to them in the initial time. It's not going to be possible always, but figure out. Once you figure out the why, it makes processes easier. So the same way, parental role is going to be there throughout, whether they are in primary, middle, or high school. And when it comes to collaboration, increasing personal attention, it again works across. Remediation also, I know it's not possible to do it in the regular classroom. That's why we club students if they are lacking foundational skills, and different periods are allotted as per the school's policy. And when we talk about the behavior, right? If we talk about the behavior, one strategy or technique I could give for high school students is you could have behavior contracts with them. You can create a contract with them saying that, okay, this is your task that we are agreeing upon. If it is done, what is it that they would get? Would they get an extra PE period or a football period that they love or want to sit with their best friend? If they're not able to do it, what is it that would be the consequence? So you can create behavioral contracts with them that can be used for both academic and behavior challenges.
Wonderful. So, using the time that is allotted in the school space itself productively, and also identifying the actual foundational skills that may be missing, and only spending your time working on those might help and might support the teachers to also work in the time that they have. Apart from that, in terms of behavioral challenges, teachers can definitely identify behavior charts or behavior contracts that they can make with their students, again in collaboration with them, which allows them to have more of responsibility and accountability towards it. Absolutely. With that, before I move to the next question, I do recognize that a lot of the participants have been finding a little bit of trouble with submitting the feedback. We have taken a note of it and we are working on it from our end as well. We would suggest that all of the participants save the feedback link that is shared with you and try again after the session is over. You will absolutely be able to submit the feedback by then. So please do so. Please just save your feedback link for now, and we can now come back to the question and answers. Okay, with that, we go to the next question, Ms. Shivani. This question is about students who may have trouble with vocabulary. A lot of the teachers are wondering how they can build student vocabulary and what are some strategies that they can use to do so.
Vocabulary building is an interesting question. When you ask me about vocabulary building, you can have vocabulary words on the wall of your classes. Some teachers also use a strategy where we say, excuse me, right? When the child is entering the classroom, you can have a word of the day where they know the spelling of it, they know the meaning of it, they know how to use the word in a sentence. That is taught to them in the morning and they use it as a password to enter the class. You can use it across grades and you will be using grade level words. For example, you will use simple sight words for grade 1, but for across, higher school students, you will use words from their textbooks, English textbooks. This way you can use that as a password. Yes, they understand excuse me is used, but in your English classes or in subject classes where you feel it's a difficult word, it could be used as a passport to come into the classroom. You can have vocabulary web where you're making them practice, think how they can come up through dictionary with various ways. You can play games with them, ask them to think. You can pair them with a partner where they are thinking, have group discussions, and that's where you can improve their vocabulary.
So using a lot of interactive sort of strategies in the classroom, using peer buddies, using a lot of playway is all things that the teachers can do in order to develop and build vocabulary in students. Absolutely. Now with that, we will have to move to the last question of our session, given the time that we have. The last question, again, is somewhat of a popular question. A lot of the teachers are very excited to use the buddy system in their classroom, especially for primary grade students, but they wanted to understand a little more about how they can do so in their spaces.
So I can re-explain that. So when it comes to buddy system, it is a technique where you're providing a peer-to-peer support. So we have to decide which child is more responsible. Is the learning style there? Is the child having patience to deal with the other child? While assigning, it's not that we directly tell that, okay, Rahul, you go sit with Neha to support Neha. We talk to Rahul. If I give this responsibility to you, are you ready to take up? There should be willingness from the buddy, right, to see positive outcome. So tell that if you need any support, I am there. If you don't know how to deal with when she's not writing, come to me. I will tell you. So you have to provide that safe space to the child that yes, they don't feel overwhelmed, that okay, this is a big responsibility the teacher has given me. So talk to the child, assign it. Also talk to Neha, for example, that I'm assigning Rahul to you. You have to listen. And then, as teachers, while we are assigning, it's also important to see and review progress. It shouldn't be that Rahul, while supporting Neha, is not completing his own work. His performance has dropped down. That way, it's having a negative effect. So, while reevaluating, while having conversations, keeping a timely check will help you to know whether it's working or not. So, this is how you could go ahead with the buddy system in the class.
Lovely. So actually setting a structure for the buddy system by talking to both the buddy and the student who's going to have that buddy is extremely crucial before starting a successful buddy system, and also constantly checking for progress both of the child who has the buddy and of the child who is the buddy, to ensure that both of them are progressing in their academic goals and challenges is also something that the teachers can do. Wonderful. With that, we come to an end of today's session, dear participants. We would like to thank all of you for being here with us today. We would love to thank all of you for being such wonderful participants and for being so actively involved in today's session. Thank you for asking so many questions, sharing all your wonderful comments with us, and making this such an enriching and such a wonderful session. We would also like to thank Madhuban for collaborating with us and bringing this session to life today. With that, I would like to show all of you a quick resource that will be shared with you in the next 2 or 3 working days. Please look through this. This is the resource that will be shared with you. This resource consists of all the strategies that have been discussed in today's session that you can take back and use in your classrooms as well. With that, I would like to bid all of you a great goodbye. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Dear participants, before you leave, I would like to inform you that you will receive the feedback link with your certificate on your email. So please give your feedback when you receive the certificate. We'll be sharing the link with you on your email. Thank you, everyone.